What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be showing you a video on something that I've gotten a ton of requests from, especially lately for some reason. It's a mod that I did to the truck, God, months ago, and it's actually one of my favorites. I love it. It's simple to do. It is the tailgate lock. Now, I went with the pop and lock version instead of the OEM Toyota version. From what I understand and from what I can tell, they're basically the exact same thing. Pop and lock was like 50 or 60 bucks cheaper, so that's the route I went, and it's been working flawlessly for months. So I'm going to show you what you have to do to get the pop and lock installed. This install will, from what I understand, again, basically go exactly the same for the Toyota OEM tailgate lock. The only thing, the only difference with the Toyota OEM, when we get to the wiring part, which I'll show you, I believe the OEM from Toyota is a plug and play instead of splicing into wires. I think that's the only difference from what I can tell. But again, very simple install no matter which route you go. So step one, in order to get the pop and lock installed, is you want to access underneath or the inside of your tailgate. In order to do that, there's a panel right here that you can see in front of me. There's 8 T30 screws or bolts that are holding this panel in place. So I'll go ahead and take those 8 T30 bolts out of there, and you'll be able to remove this panel. So the panel pops off just like that. Set it aside. That's going to give us access to where we need to mount the pop and lock system. All right, guys, since I already had the pop and lock installed, I'm going to show you the best I can. Basically, all you're going to get with the pop and lock system is you're going to get the actuator, which looks like this piece right here in my hand. I removed it from my truck just to show you and give you a better look. And then, of course, you're going to get the wiring harness, which I have zip tied here. I'll show you how I have the wiring ran. But basically, when you get the actuator, it's not going to be connected to the wiring harness just yet. In order to mount the actuator, there's a 10mm bolt right here. You can see it right there at my fingertip. I already have it loosened just to save some time on the video. So you're just going to take that 10mm bolt off. And let me show you what I did. The infamous pop and lock thud, as they call it. And what I mean by that is once this is all installed and you hit the lock or unlock button, there's a not a really loud, but there's a decent thud that you're going to hear, which is the actuator hitting this piece right here, which is the lock and the unlock. So in order to minimize that, what I did was I took a flat washer that looks just like this. You can see the size on it right there. Let me get it close to the screen. And what I did was, on this 10mm bolt that I removed, I went ahead and installed one of them washers on the bolt. And what that does is it softens that thud. Now, if that thud doesn't bother you, you can skip this step. That washer serves no purpose other than just helping kind of quiet down that thud a little bit. You can still hear it even with this washer on there, but I actually like the fact that I can still hear it a little bit. It just gives me, confirmation that it is in fact working. So again, once you remove this 10mm bolt, you can install that washer if you want. You're going to take the actuator that looks like this, and as you can see, this flat piece that sticks out right here, it's got 2 holes in it. You're going to use the top hole. If you're looking at it like this, it's going to be the top hole that you see there, the one up here. And you're going to take it and mount it. There's a black, I'll take a picture and put it on the screen for you because you probably can't see it right now, but there's a black plastic piece that's sticking up right here where my finger is. That black plastic piece is going to fit in that top hole. So you're going to take the actuator, you're going to slide it down in there, and again, I'll put the picture up on the screen so you can see how it's mounted. But there's a black plastic piece that slides through that hole and holds that actuator in place, just like that. All right. So now, just want to make sure it's all lined up properly. And if you have that black hole, or I'm sorry, that black plastic piece where in that hole where it should be, there's another hole right here where you're going to take this 10mm bolt and secure it back down. Now there's not a whole lot of room to work down here, so you just kind of have to get your fingers in there and get it started, and then I'll get my wrench on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get it started, and then we'll give it the final tightening down, and I'll show you how the wiring is ran But that's pretty much all there is to this install, guys. It's very simple to do. So once you get this actuator tightened down, we'll show you the wiring and where we have it tapped into, and that's all there is to it. So I'm gonna go. All right, guys, I took the camera off the truck to give you a little bit better of a look at how it should look once it's installed. You can see that 10mm bolt down underneath there where the black washer is. That black right down in here, if you see those two holes, that black plastic piece I was talking about pops through that top hole right there. And before we even go any further, I'll show you what happens when you hit, right now the truck is unlocked. If you hit the lock button, the actuator kicks in and pushes it up to the locked position. The unlock pops it back down. All right, so now as far as the wiring goes, you're gonna bring the wiring from the actuator, which is right here, the red and blue that you see right here. It connects to the wiring harness, which is another, just a blue and a red wire. I'm sorry, blue and green wire. And then the wiring harness, you feed it through, let me back up a little bit so you can see the entire tailgate. You're gonna feed it up through here, and you're gonna pop it out right there. There's a wiring harness. I believe this is for the backup camera. So you're gonna pop it out right through the same area. There's a little plastic piece that I actually drilled a small hole through to feed this smaller wire that you see here, that my finger is underneath. That's the pop and lock harness. So I just drilled a smaller hole right through there. You can see it there. Fed it through here, brought it over here. You can see the plastic piece. I just leaned on my remote, sorry about that. You can see the plastic piece that's feeding the wiring harness through. Again, the thicker bundle is the backup camera. This thinner wire, this is from the pop and lock that I drilled a small hole through that plastic piece to feed it through there, and from there it's going to pop out underneath the truck. And let me get up underneath the truck and I'll show you exactly how we ran it up into the passenger footwell area, which is where we tap into the wiring up there. All right, guys, the lighting is not the best up underneath the truck, of course, but let me just give you somewhat of an idea of how I ran this wiring. You can see where it pops out right, let me get right here. Hopefully you can see that. It's basically right next to this white plug. And then what you want to do whenever you're running wiring, especially up underneath the truck, you want to just stick to existing wiring. So if you just follow that thick wire loom that you see right there in the middle of the screen, sorry, I'm trying to hold my phone flashlight up there just to give you as good of a look as I can. But when you get up underneath the truck, you'll see exactly what I mean. Where that pop and lock wiring harness pops out underneath the truck right here, there's a couple thick wiring harnesses that you can literally follow all the way up. And the only part you're gonna have to be careful, and again, if you just follow that thick wire loom, which you can see right up in there, that'll take you up above the exhaust system. There's a heat shield. Let me roll back this way a little bit. You can see the tailpipe right here and the heat shield. If you follow that wiring harness right up in there, you can see it towards the top of your screen. Again, that's that smaller diameter wiring harness. That's the pop and lock wiring harness. I just have it zip tied to that thick wiring harness all the way up. Again, just follow existing wiring whenever possible. So you just stick with that, follow the thicker wire bundle there, zip tie it I usually do every 8 to 12 inches, just to make sure there's no, play in it or no slack. And so let me go up towards the front of the truck and I'll show you how we accessed inside of the vehicle by the passenger feet area, by the passenger footwell, and that's where we tapped into the wiring of the truck. Okay, guys, once you get towards the front of the truck, again, just by zip tying your pop and lock wiring harness to that big thick bundle of wires, that bundle of wire is going to run, the bigger bundle is going to run all the way up to the front above the frame of the truck, which you can see the frame right here in front of us. That's what you're looking at, this big black piece right here. That's the frame of the truck. Once you get towards the front, and let me see if I can give you I'll back up just to give you a little bit of a reference point so you know where we're at. You can see we're basically towards the front of it. Out here where my foot is, you can see me waving my foot. That's the front of the passenger front door. All right, just to give you an idea of where we're at. So once you get up into this area, your wiring is going to be ran up above the frame, which again is this big black piece right here in front of us. You can see right up above the frame there, right in the middle of your screen, you're going to find a grommet. If you drill a hole through that grommet and run your wiring harness from your pop and lock up through that, you can use a hanger, or I use a wiring fish, of course, but if you don't have one, you can use a hanger or whatever you have to feed it up through that grommet. That's going to take it underneath the carpet in the passenger front footwell area. All right, so that's the grommet you want to find. Drill a hole through there, or cut a hole in that grommet, and feed your wiring right up through there. And I'll show you where it's going to pop out. We'll go inside the truck now, and I'll show you where it's going to come out. Okay, so to get at that wiring, once you pop it through that grommet, you just have to remove the door sills, which just pops right up. I'm trying to do this quick because we're running out of daylight here. So I have my floor LEDs on as well. Hopefully it'll give you a little bit better look. Up underneath here, if you've never removed this piece, if you just feel up underneath there, you're gonna see a plastic little nut that looks just like that. You have to remove that, and then the kick panel will just pop right off. All right, so once you have those out of the way, the wiring that once you feed it up through that rubber grommet underneath the truck that I showed you, it's going to be underneath the carpet. So to get at the carpet, all you have to do is that there's a little plastic piece right here that holds it on the lip down here. If you just lift that up, you can see my wiring harness is coming right through here. The grommet itself is right here. Let me take the camera off and I'll show you exactly where it is, just so you have a better idea. Bear with me 1 second here. So again, you can pop the carpet right up and you can see, hopefully, where the wiring is coming through, right down through this area here. Okay, the grommet is right there where my fingertip is. All right, so this is the wiring coming from the pop and lock. So let me show you where we need to tap into over here. You just take the two wires from the pop and lock, the blue and the green, and I'll show you where we have to tap them into the truck. All right guys, here we are the next day. After reviewing the footage, I realized that the lighting was pretty bad and it was getting dark really quick. So I just want to show you real fast before I show you the wiring, how you get the carpet up. This piece right here, it just clips down into these other white pieces that secure the wiring. So you can just pop it right up out of there like that. And then now you can get a much better look. This is the pop and lock wiring right here. You can see it obviously much better now that it's daylight. And the grommet is up underneath. You can see it. It's right up under here. This piece you can actually lift up to get at that grommet. And the other thing is you can actually take that grommet out of the truck to drill your hole and feed your wiring up through, and then just pop the grommet back in its place once the wiring is through it, whatever's easier for you. That's actually what I did. I removed the grommet and then drilled my hole, ran my wiring through it, and then put the grommet back in place on the truck. But if you want to leave it in the truck and drill your hole, that's where that grommet is sitting. All right, so once you have the pop and lock wiring coming up right here, I'll show you exactly where you have to tap in, and I'll also put a couple pictures up on the screen for you. This bottom blue plug right here. And now this is a 2020 Platinum, of course. If you're new to the channel, that's what we're working on. So on the 2020 Platinum, bottom blue plug right here. And the two wires that you need to work with are, there's a white wire with a gray dot on it. And again, the picture will be on your screen giving you an up close look at this. And then a red wire with a gray dot on it. Those are the two wires that you need to connect your pop and lock wires into. So here are the pop and lock wires, that green and blue, that's running all the way up here from the tailgate. The blue wire taps into the white with silver dot on it. The green wire pops into the red with a silver dot on it. All right, it's that simple. However you want to make these connections. I usually use butt connectors for all of my wiring connections, but for this, I just use these taps just to tap into it, and it works perfectly fine. Now, the one thing I will say, unless Pop and Lock fixed this issue, their instructions were opposite of what you actually had to do. When I bought this kit, and I actually saw a bunch of people saying this online as well before I installed my pop and lock, the instructions actually tell you to reverse these. They tell you the green goes into the white and the blue goes into the red. That's wrong. Now, you're not going to hurt anything if you do that. The only thing that'll happen is when you hit the lock button on your key fob, the tailgate will actually unlock, and vice versa. If you hit unlock, the tailgate will lock. So just test it out. Again, unless Pop and Lock fixed this issue, the instructions that came with this kit were opposite and they were wrong. The correct way to wire it is right here. Blue from the Pop and Lock goes to the white with the silver dot on it. The green from the Pop and Lock goes to the red with the silver dot on it. All right. Those are the only two wiring connections you need to tap into. Once you have those two wires from the Pop and Lock tapped in, your Pop and Lock is now ready to rock. And what you can do if you go into the settings on your truck, I have mine where all I have to do is hit my my unlock button one time, and it unlocks all of my doors, including my tailgate. If you have your truck set up to where you have to hit your unlock button twice on your key fob to unlock all of the other doors on your key fob, if there's a setting where you can set it to where if you hit your unlock button once, it'll unlock the driver door. If you hit it a second time, it'll unlock the rest of the doors. So you can set that up however you want it. This is basically linked into the passenger door. So again, I have my key fob set up to where if I hit the key fob unlock button one time, all of my doors unlock, including my tailgate. All right, so you can set that up however you want it on your truck. But that's all there is to it, guys. Super easy. Just mount that. The actuator, like I showed you, use that washer if you want to kind of deaden that sound just a little bit. And I'll go back to the back of the truck and I'll let you hear the thud. I don't know how well it'll come out on camera, but I'll let you hear it just so you can, get an idea of what you're dealing with. And but once you mount that actuator, run the wiring up here, tap it into these two wires. That's all there is to it. Go back, zip tie all your wires, and you're done. So let me go back to the back of the truck and I'll show you, and I'll let you listen to the thud that you'll hear from the Pop and Lock with that washer on there. All right, so here we are, obviously standing right by the tailgate, and I'll give you a listen. I'm gonna hit the lock button. So again, it's a little bit of a thud. I hope it comes out on camera just to kind of show you guys what it sounds like. There's the unlock. So it's just enough, in my opinion, to let you know and give you a confirmation that it is in fact working. I like the fact that you can still hear it a little bit. When you're up by the front of the truck, you can barely hear it at all. You actually hear the doors locking just as loud, if not louder, than you hear the Pop and Lock itself. Now, without that washer, it was a little bit louder. I installed it without that washer at first, and again, it was a little bit louder, but that washer just kind of deadened it a little bit. And again, it's just enough to give you confirmation that it's working. So, all right, guys, very straightforward and easy install. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, as always, leave them down below, and we will see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching. Take care.